You know, history isn't just the clattering of swords or the dust settling on ancient battlefields. It's really made up of these profound split-second moments of human resolve, unwavering faith, and, well, sometimes tragic miscalculations that leave a mark for generations. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into an absolutely monumental event in Islamic history, the Battle of Uhud. We're going to explore this incredible, critical moment where brilliant military strategy met a devastating human flaw. It's a stark reminder of how quickly discipline can just unravel when we're faced with worldly temptation. So let's jump right in.
To really get Uhud, we've got to rewind a tiny bit and look at what happened just before it. We're in the month of Shawwal, 3 AH, the third year after the Hijrah. The Meccan Quraysh just suffered a staggering defeat at the Battle of Badr, and they are absolutely burning for revenge. I mean, the fires of retaliation have pushed them to mobilize a massive force, and that army is marching straight toward the gates of Medina as we speak.
3,000 soldiers. That is the overwhelming size of the Quraysh army arriving outside the city. And it wasn't just foot soldiers either. This massive force was backed up by 200 horses and 3,000 camels, led by heavy hitters like Abu Sufyan and Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl. The sheer scale and logistics of this army, they were designed to completely crush the Muslims of Medina once and for all.
Now, the Quran itself sets the divine backdrop for this looming confrontation. If we look in Surah Al Imran, specifically verses 121 and 122, it actually highlights Prophet Muhammad's early morning departure and his meticulous placement of the believers at their battle stations. These verses also tap into the immense psychological pressure of that exact moment, reminding the Muslims that, at the end of the day, ultimate reliance has to be placed entirely on Allah.
So how exactly did they respond to this massive threat? Well, the Muslim response was swift and very deliberate. First up, the Prophet held a strategic consultation with his companions, sharing a dream he had. The collective decision they landed on was to meet the enemy outside the city walls, rather than just holding up inside. So, after leading the Friday prayers, the Prophet armored up and led a force of 1,000 men out of Medina to face the Quraysh.
Which brings us to the first section, the hypocrites' betrayal. Because, before the swords are even drawn, a devastating psychological blow strikes the Muslim ranks. And the crazy part? It doesn't come from the massive enemy army ahead of them. It comes from a betrayal right within their own marching lines.
A massive chunk of the army literally just walks away. Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul, who is widely recognized as the leader of the hypocrites in Medina, abruptly abandons the march, and he takes 300 of his men right along with him. His excuse? Cowardly, to say the least. He claimed his earlier advice to stay inside the city was ignored because the younger men were too eager to fight outside, so he just flat out refused to participate.
The absolute most crucial point here is the terrifying math they are now left with. This sudden defection leaves the Muslim force severely outnumbered. They drop from 1,000 to just 700 brave men. 700 believers marching out to face a formidable, heavily armed force of 3,000 Quraysh. It's no longer just a physical battle, it has instantly become an immense test of faith and resilience.
All right, moving into Section 2, Strategy at Mount Uhud. Arriving at the foothills of Mount Uhud on Saturday, the 7th of Shawwal, Prophet Muhammad devises what is honestly a masterstroke of defensive military strategy to counter this massive numerical disadvantage.
Recognizing that a direct, head-on clash would be practically a suicide mission against 3,000 men, he surveys the battlefield, and he identifies a critical vulnerability. The Muslim rear is totally exposed to a devastating cavalry attack from the enemy's 200 horsemen. But to counter this, he spots a small, strategic hill called Jabal al-Anayn, which we later come to know as the Mount of Archers. Securing this high ground is absolutely key to protecting their flank and ensuring they survive this.
To lock down this crucial high ground, the Prophet deploys a highly specialized elite division. He handpicks 50 incredibly skilled archers and places them under the steadfast command of Abdullah bin Jubayr. Their one and only mission? Stay on that mount and rain down arrows on any enemy cavalry that even tries to sneak around the back of the Muslim army.
This brings us to Section 3, the strict command. You see, the instructions given to this archer unit were not just, casual strategic advice or some general guideline. They were an absolute, uncompromising ultimatum. The entire battle literally hinged on their strict obedience.
There is a profound decree recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari that really shows the gravity of this. The Prophet tells Abdullah bin Jubayr and his men, "Even if you see birds snatching us, do not leave this place until I send for you, And even if you see that we have defeated the enemy and trampled them, do not leave your place until I order you. It is chillingly clear, right? Whether the Muslim army is entirely wiped out or wildly victorious, they are strictly forbidden to abandon their post until explicitly commanded.
Now for Section 4, Victory and the Fatal Mistake. The fierce battle finally kicks off, and despite being outnumbered 4-1, the Muslim warriors fight with staggering bravery. Warriors like Ali, Hamza, and Zubair launch an offensive so powerful and so relentless that the massive Quraysh ranks actually begin to buckle, shatter, and ultimately flee the battlefield.
With the Meccan army retreating in absolute panic, they start dropping their belongings, leaving all their possessions scattered across the ground. Looking down from the mountain, an illusion of total, conclusive victory just washes over the battlefield. The dust seems to be settling. To those archers looking down, the battle appears completely 100% won.
But here is the critical question. What happens when worldly gain eclipses strict obedience? In this chaotic moment of perceived triumph, human nature takes over. A devastating lapse in discipline occurs. It's this tragic moment where the desire for worldly spoils clashes directly with a strict prophetic command. Just a split-second decision that is going to entirely alter the course of history.
A truly heartbreaking contrast unfolds right there on the hill. On one side, you have the commander, Abdullah bin Jubayr, desperately pleading with his men to remember the Prophet's explicit orders to stay put no matter what. On the other side, over 40 of the 50 archers completely break ranks. Believing the battle is over, they rush down the hill to collect the abandoned spoils of war, completely tossing aside the ultimatum they were just given.
And just like that, the strategic masterpiece totally falls apart. With the mountain abandoned by the vast majority of the archers, the Muslim rear is suddenly left completely defenseless. That shield, the one protecting those 700 men from a fatal attack from behind, it's gone. The flank is wide open.
The absolute greatest military advantage the Muslims had is gone. And you better believe the sharp eyes of the enemy cavalry commander, Khalid bin Walid, who hadn't yet accepted Islam at this point, are locked onto that empty mountain. The trap is sprung. To witness the tragic and pivotal conclusion of this battle, make sure you subscribe to Animated Chronic Tales right now for Part 2. But until then, ask yourself, what is the true cost of prioritizing the world over your principles?